Hello and welcome back. This is going to be a Voymonk video voice video voice over, not vlog. Almost said vlog. Uh, yeah. You know, for the last several weeks that I've done this and really gotten further than I had any anticipation that I was going to get. I really kind of sidelined the expectations for this channel from my very first video vlog and the idea that I was going to do the video vlog. Mostly because I've tried to do this before, and yes, I've approached this subject before and explained my history a little bit, but I'm going to kind of give a little bit more detail on this one, which is I've tried to do this before, and each time that I've tried, I've got a little bit better and I've gotten a little bit further. And the first question that kind of came to my mind about doing this again was, what is going to be different? What was I going to do that would be different? Because it seemed for me, starting out these other two times, and they weren't right after the other. I mean, the first time I tried it was probably back in 2006, and then maybe a few years after that I tried to do it again. And like I said, each time that I tried, I'd have relatively different amounts of success. And by success, I don't mean viewers by any stretch of the imagination. I mean just in terms of the content that I felt like I was producing and what I wanted it to be. Now, honestly, from the very first time I tried this to now, yes, even back in 2006, I was pretty much confident that I didn't want to have any edits, any filters, that this wasn't really going to be like the very thing that I pretty much went to radio broadcasting school for, which is a discipline, and yes, it is a discipline, and an academic structure for when I went to school that taught me about the different things that you would need to do and not do. And one of the very first things that I learned is about knowing your audience. I mean, you can speak, but you honestly had to know whom you were speaking to. And of course, on top of that, you learn about the psychology and of course about the history of not only just advertising, but psychologically in terms of how to sell everything as far back as B.T. Barnum and Bailey Circus, which many people might not necessarily know, but he was one of the very first real, I shouldn't say first, but one of the more well-known capitalists who basically he established a kind of carnival circus. He's one of the first, and as such, he would have different kinds of schemes that would draw people in order to essentially kind of dupe them into buying whatever he was selling, even if it was, see a real mermaid, right? You couldn't see the mermaid unless you paid him a certain amount of money, and then, of course, once you did, you would be struck by whatever you saw as pretty much being completely different than what you imagined. And then, of course, explaining afterwards it really wouldn't matter because the price wasn't so much that, it was anything worth as far as letting other people know or telling them don't do this or don't do that. It was just, by the time you went through the entire process, you would kind of reach the why bother and moved along. So the idea was more about just kind of getting views, getting people to show up, getting people to, under any circumstance, buy in. And then once they had done so, you could move on. You move on to a different town, different place. Sometimes you could move on to a different scheme. And so, like I said, that was part of the curriculum that I learned in radio broadcasting, along with technique and technical aspects and things of that nature. But the primary thing that I didn't want to do when I did this was that I didn't want to incorporate any of those things. And while I still see shadows and parts of what I learned in what we do here, or what people do here on social media. I was definitely sure that although I understand its foundations and the premise of where things came from, I didn't then, nor do I really care for now, what has been produced as a result. Meaning, things, then I'm speaking only for myself in terms of what I wanted to do. I don't want to dupe people into content that they don't care about or they couldn't find any value in. And while that may seem kind of stupid, meaning that maybe no one would ever listen to what I say and maybe no one will ever care about this channel and whatnot, I was absolutely certain that if that were to be the case, I would be completely happy with and be sure that I felt it was successful as long as I was doing it the way that I wanted to do it, which is, like I said, not being edited, not putting on makeup, not doing anything that would make me feel as though I were pretending to be someone that I'm not. I spoke about in my vlog about having ADHD and being an introvert and being pretty antisocial to the point where it caused major anxiety for me and depression. But those are just things that affect me, but they're things that I've dealt with for a long time. And one of the things I think was always therapeutic and helped me as a younger teenager, as a child, was radio broadcasting. The idea of a medium where you could literally, through the sound of your voice, connect with other people in different ways. And I absolutely fell in love with it. And I also fell in love with it because I like the ideas that you could, in the middle of the night, and I actually did call in a couple of times to talk radio to one of my favorite broadcasters was Phil Hendry, back when he was at WCCO, back in I think was 91, 92 season. But I basically fell in love with it. I liked the idea of conversation and a voice reaching across great distances and communicating with others. And that's really what I see YouTube as being. But like I said, as far as doing radio, there's a lot of different reasons why after I graduated I didn't do that. But most of it had to do with other life decisions that I just really wasn't going to make, or didn't want to not make, which was taking care of my mom. And that's important to me because I don't have a big family. I mean, I do, but it's pretty split like a lot of families, and it's quite dysfunctional like a lot of families. So taking care of my mom and not moving away because she didn't have anyone, my father was not around. So that was something that I chose to do. And that's the only reason why I'm bringing it up, is to explain why I fell in love with this, because this was, at least in my view, a way of doing a radio broadcast, doing a radio show, doing something similar to what I had fallen in love with. But at the same time, having a way to find a way to make it work. And the thing, although like I said, I love radio and there's a discipline, and there are certainly mediums, it's a medium that I think you can do certain things with. It's very much about optics, even though it's on the radio. Like talk shows usually have a screener. At least that's what they called them back then. And if you were to get on a talk show, and a lot of times, especially if it's a talk show, they would absolutely make sure, obviously, that you were who you said you were. You didn't call up and just say the F word so you could get on there or something like that. But a lot of it was edited so that if you had a host and maybe you were talking about a subject or an issue, you could make for certain that they wouldn't be one-upped by someone calling in, making them look bad, and then ultimately harming the image of the show. And that's not altogether too different from how television also became with talk shows and things of that nature, and just so on and so forth. So the point being is that I was just never satisfied with the whole manipulation thing. And I understand that, and I'm not being too critical here, that there's a method behind that in terms of a madness. And some people subscribe to it and some people don't, but I do not. And so I didn't want to incorporate that into this, but I also, since I've been here, and I've covered some of what I'm talking about with other content on this channel, but the thing that I haven't touched on really in terms of just YouTube now is the things that I don't really want to do in terms of incorporating, just like with radio, is I'm not interested in telling people things that aren't true. I'm not interested in telling people how to think or what to believe or to give people advice on anything. My overall interest in terms of value is just to share my life, share my experiences, and to talk about the things I think are interesting and deserve to be talked about in terms of life in itself, not particular issues about whether society should do this or that, or whether this is good or that is bad, based on mass consumption. My interest is in being a human being, enjoying life, and even going through the trials and tribulations that everyone does to do that. And that being the thing that either you find value, either in the content that I create, which I will not tell you that I'm for everyone. I'm certain that that many, probably most, won't be interested in what I'm doing. But to those who could be, those who are, those who might be, that is the audience that I want to reach. But it isn't going to be through telling them things that they want to hear just to get them to click on a video or click on me or click on my channel, and then ultimately, inevitably, just be disappointed in the fact that they've either been lied to or duped into doing something that, quite frankly, they're not interested in. And I certainly wouldn't want to create that kind of resentment as though someone is being baited or sucked in or thought to tune in to whatever I'm doing if they have the wrong kinds of expectations. Whereas for me, I would much rather there be no expectations besides the very basic things that I've talked about, which is this is a channel that I'm going to talk about life through my vlogs. And I'm going to also talk about the things that I'm interested in, my video voiceovers. I may do some ASMR, I might not. I will do videos with my face at some point as well, and maybe do lives and things like that. And I'm interested in doing something that would be more of a YouTube podcast-ish radio show. But going back to what I started in terms of 2006 and what got me into doing this is that, for the most part, I wasn't really happy with, I should say, what I was producing. And to me, the overall success was that life got in the way. So many other things kind of became a distraction. And so while the first time I tried this really didn't go very far, the second time I did, I got it maybe close to a couple of months and then kind of gave up. But the same thing pretty much got in the way, which is I got preoccupied with what I wanted to do, what I thought I needed to do, I should do, rather than what I needed to do, which is just make content. Put it out there. See if someone is interested or people are interested, and let them to just decide if this is something that they want to be a part of. That, to me, is the thing I want to do. And if I can't do it honestly, if I can't make it happen in a way that I think is deserving of, for me, to be on here, and those who might find interest in what I'm doing, that to me is important. It's important that I'm happy with what I'm doing, and that by default, others are happy with what I'm doing as well, if they've decided to then subscribe and listen, and then, possibly be a part of this by sharing their own experiences and talking about the things that they find interesting or the passions that they have, and just not having any expectations, just enjoying this. So this time that I'm doing this channel, Voymonk, I feel different. I feel like there's some big things that I've learned from, I would say, are my failures the first and second time that I did this. Not the least of which is that obviously this isn't going to be perfect. Obviously I'm not going to be the best at this or whatever. I understand that this is rough. I understand listening to this for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes just may not be something that other people can do. Maybe it is. But for whatever it is that people might have in terms of an expectation for everything else, this channel is going to be one that's set apart. And it'll either be nothing or it'll be successful based on that. And to me, if I have a prayer's chance, an opportunity to make this something that I think is special on those terms, just being myself. Yes, being more organized, getting better at this, reaching out and expressing myself, because I have a lot here to express along with others, then I'll be happy. And that's why I'm happy this time, because I'm still not perfect. I still can listen to these, the content that I've done already and gone, I need to fix that, I need to do better in this and that, whatever. But nothing has come across to my mind that makes me think, I really ought to edit myself so maybe I look a little bit prettier than I actually am. Maybe I should edit this so that it can come across a lot more polished and professional and things like that. Or maybe I could find a way to just spam and send people messages and let people hear about, think about, be exposed to my channel and try to sell it in a certain way that will somehow come back and get people's attention, but it'll be attention for all the wrong reasons. And the motive and the bottom line being that, people will ultimately be more than likely upset if, they maybe do click on my channel or my content. And maybe if it's just because I spammed it or I got put in their place and they didn't want it. Well, just like a lot of other things, I think people can let you know their appreciation or lack thereof of appreciation for that kind of behavior. And you see it all the time. And I'm not saying that I agree or disagree with what other people should do for themselves, or that, bullying or harassment or getting people to be negative or anything like that is in any way something that I would say I can think of or say anyone deserves. I can say that I do believe, and I am a big believer, you give and what you get. And sometimes even if you follow this rule, you can get some pretty terrible things that'll happen to you. A lot of things can go wrong or whatever. But for me, I am more interested in creating the kind of content that I would like to hear and the kind of content that I appreciate. Back when I fell in love with radio and, hearing different voices and people that would reach out and connect with others through like a talk show call-in format. I don't really plan on doing anything quite like that. There was also another medium called public access. And this was a way for people to kind of do what's done on YouTube, except it was done at a local cable station where you could do a show. And honestly, it is on YouTube public access. And let me tell you, it was interesting. It was probably more interesting than anything I've ever seen on TV or cable before. And since probably nothing quite like it as well, because, these are real people. We're not hiding behind a name or anything anonymous. These are just your your neighbors, the people that live in your community on public access channel. And some of them, had some ideas. They had things that they wanted to do. And, not putting against them or anyone else now, like I said, with YouTube, who have all different kinds of channels, I'm not knocking anyone. But what I am saying is that for me, the thing that is important is to not be here simply purely for entertainment either, just to find a way to attract an audience just so that I can say, hey, look at me, and put forth some things that I think people should be watching or hearing or whatever. It's just, that isn't my goal. My goal is to make content that I love, that I enjoy, that I want to share, and hopefully I can find those through that same medium that want to share and listen to this, and build from there, find others, build a community that is based on actually having a conversation and having fun, enjoying more than just, us talking about football or comedy, or just maybe the things that already have an audience, and plenty of others that will feed in terms of just show me more, do more, do anything and everything that'll, keep my attention. And I think in this day and age in society where, we watch a lot of TikToks, right? And I guess I'm not making criticisms, but the attention span and, people listening and watching is much shorter than 4 hours, which is a radio show, including commercials and bits and call-in features and stuff. And so YouTube is a medium that basically it has its catches as well. It's bait to keep people watching. It's methods to advertise and to psychologically entice those who would want to watch, whether it's for the content itself or it's just a click so people can come in, tune in, and then even if they don't like what they like, leave, but then know about it. So therefore that kind of creates a bit of a currency, a credit in terms of what they can spend in terms of their social presence. And like I said, those aren't things that I'm especially interested in. What I am interested in doing is what I'm doing now. So leading back to what started this is that the thing that's different about this channel now versus the other times that I've done this, and I would say the biggest factor, the biggest thing, is that I'm just doing it. I'm just doing it. I don't have a great microphone. I don't even have the right kind of video. I don't have any editing software. I am just doing it. And I'm not letting 100 other things get in my way to prevent me from doing that. Because as long as I'm doing the one thing that I truly believe in, which is just being me, being authentic, and building this channel from the ground up, maybe it'll be nothing most likely, but if it turns into something and people do gravitate towards it, and as I get better, as I create content, as I have something here for you to listen to and watch, I'd like to do that in all sincerity, in the truest way possible of keeping your attention, keeping your interest, because you enjoy what you're listening to. Even if I'm just rambling, even if I'm just babbling, even if it's just you're listening to me and you go, yeah, I've had that thought, or I kind of think that same way, or yeah, that's cool, or hey, here's my perspective on that, or something else. And then it can go from there. And if people out there kind of going through the same things that I have, as far as how do you get started? What do I need? Maybe I need the right kind of lighting. Maybe I need the right kind of video. Maybe I need the right kind of do this, that, or the other thing. And, there's a lot of competition. Why wouldn't anybody listen to me? I mean, YouTube has ads, and no one's going to want to literally listen to a person like me who's got no training and maybe doesn't even know what they always want to say, and spending the time. It's just, to me, it's just do it, right? Kind of like the slogan, just do it, get it done. If you make mistakes, if you get in the habit and the practice, and after a while you can actually get better. And you can do this if you honestly create the kind of content that you would be interested in. Self-reflection, I think, is very important. This is why I know there's a lot of people that aren't going to be interested in what I'm going to say. And I know that if put in front of a lot of people, they're just going to laugh or go, why the hell am I going to listen to this guy just rambling on about stuff? But, through that rambling, hopefully I'm finding my way and getting better at doing this and just creating content that people enjoy or can be engaged with or can find interest in. Because everything else on top of that is just a bonus. Everything else on top of it can just make it better. But it's kind of like, I think the thing I heard, or I've seen a lot of people, like, why doesn't anybody like McDonald's anymore? Or why doesn't anyone, go to Sears anymore? Why are so many things changing in terms of people's experiences? And, you get a lot of people that have ideas about it, but I think my idea is that I think the reason that things change isn't ultimately because people move on as much as sometimes I think people just really either lose sight of the reason why they do something in the first place, meaning McDonald's or, Sears or whatever. And then they also eventually begin to not care as much about, the quality or what originally brought people to the table to begin with. And that's the thing I think that really is what it's about. I mean, the fact is, I am not going to be for everybody. But the truth is that if I can find the people that I could be, and maybe that's nobody, but if there's a chance that other people want to share, and hopefully as I get better in sharing what I do now, they can actually be drawn in a little bit to what I'm saying and what I'm doing and go, you know what? There's some things about that I like, that I find value in. And so they want to listen. They want to spend the most precious, important thing they have, which is time, and listen and participate. And if I can get that is going to be the most important. That is going to be the success for me. Not all the other stuff is just extra. But I sincerely want that. I sincerely want that interaction. I sincerely want that interest in what I'm doing, and have it be real. And if that means it doesn't happen right away, it doesn't happen overnight, or I didn't take some kind of method like paying subscribers or propping up my numbers or views or something like that, I'm okay with it. I don't want to pay someone to be interested in what I'm doing. I want you to be able to take it or leave it. And that's totally okay with me. And so, like I said, that's the reason I feel this time is different, because I'm just doing it, man. I am just making the content that I want and finding that I'm having fun, I'm enjoying it, and hopefully as you listen, you get something from that as well. Because that's the reason I'm doing it, is because I'm learning. I'm getting something from this because I'm listening. I'm not putting content out there that I wouldn't listen to. And, some of it's not great. Most of it is not very good. But I'm glad I'm making it. And I feel better for the fact that I'm doing it and not letting things like I don't have the right kind of camera or all the excuses in the world that usually will prevent me from doing something. And that's part of who I am too. But this is mostly who I am, I believe. And I can do this, and I think I want to at least do the best I can to find out. And if it's enough to build an audience, then I want to do it because I earned it. and that you listen to me because you want to listen if you want to go along this journey. So, yeah, that's going to do it for this video voiceover, Voymonk channel. I wasn't exactly anticipating it being 30 minutes. I really am not. And this could almost closely about half of what I would do if I did a radio show, a video voice radio show, which I haven't done yet. I've done some tests and see what my equipment can do as far as uploading it, and a stress test to see if I could actually talk for 4 hours. But just in general, yeah, 30 minutes isn't too bad. So yeah, like I said, hopefully you are enjoying this content, and hopefully it's getting better than when I first started. So that's 30 minutes and 43 seconds. So until my next time talking to you, take care.